I thought I'd record this story because it was really irritating to get it off my chest. I thought I'd just put this on the vertical stream. Might seem interesting. Not really that related to my talking about acting, directing, or editing. But I guess you could have it could fall in the acting category because I slipped into a character. I slipped into a character, one of the characters that I play sometimes in movies and television, a nut. I walked into IHOP in Duarte, here in California, and as soon as I walked in, there was a little old woman standing over near the tables where you're going to be seated. So we walked in, she came up to us, she was dressed in, here's a picture of a representation of her, and she almost looked exactly like this. I described it really in detail to ChatGPT, and they were able to recreate, ChatGPT was able to recreate an image of her that almost looks exactly like her. I described her in detail because she really got to me. She got under my skin. As soon as we walked in, she walked over and she said how many. It was my wife, my grandson, and I. And so we said 3. So she took us to the, no. First thing happened was my wife asked if she could sit over by the window. And the woman said, no, I just cleaned up over there and mopped the floor. That area's closed. And so she about said it like that. Not what you normally expect from a server in a national chain restaurant. So, okay, we walked over, we sat down, and I told my wife, oh, that's okay, because I really didn't want to sit by the window either because there was a lot of sun coming in and the air conditioning inside the restaurant was cool. It was a hot day. So we sit down. All of a sudden, she brings us the menus. Same waitress right here in the picture, right here in the picture. She brings us the menus. She gives them out to us. And she says, do you know what you want? I said, no, well, we just need a few minutes. My wife says, yeah, I need a few minutes to look it over. Okay, so she walks away. Literally, like maybe 3 minutes, 4 minutes later, she came back. Are you ready to order yet? You know, you don't, I didn't expect her attitude. You never really expect that in a restaurant. I mean, she seems to be new. We always go to this IHOP in Duarte because I like their pancakes. And normally we have nice servers. And I just don't know what was up with this woman. Okay, so I tried to ignore it. I'm normally a calm, relaxed guy. You ask anybody who knows me. Very few people, my wife, some relatives have seen me lose my top. And I do, just like everybody. People push you the wrong way or they push you too far and you lose your cool. And so anyway, she came back a 4th time. And are you ready to order yet? My wife said, okay, you order for our grandson and you order for yourself. I said, no, let's just wait. I told her, just give us a few more minutes. And I could tell she wasn't happy about that. And I didn't understand why. I still don't understand why. That's why I'm doing this video, because I just want to get this out there and get it off my chest. I need to let it go because it was so frustrating. You know what's so frustrating is when you act nice to people, just like general politeness, not overly nice, just general politeness that we do in everyday life. And then all of a sudden, they're nasty for no reason. And you got to continue to deal with them. Sometimes when people are nasty and you're just passing by, you just pass by, you keep going. But when they have to go get your food and they have to take your order and then they have to come back later and ask if you need anything and then they expect a tip. So anyway, I'm jumping ahead. So finally, she came back the 4th time and then she said, ready, you ready? And I said, we said yes. So my wife ordered, I ordered, and then I asked, can I have a separate plate with our order? And she said, a separate what? And I said, a separate plate. I'm going to let my grandson have some of my pancakes. So she didn't seem to be too happy about that either, but I don't know why. I mean, I do this all the time in IHOP, and this was the first time we've seen her there. So let me fast forward. I don't need to make this video that long. So we finished our meal, and I had bought, which I shouldn't have done, because IHOP always does this, even when I get my nice servers. They, if you get the all-you-can-eat pancakes, they got some kind of special going on. And so I wasn't that much hungry, but I could eat 2 more pancakes. So I told her, I said, look, excuse me. She didn't come. My wife said it really louder. Excuse me. Then even my grandson piped in. Excuse me. And so finally she said, from across the room, you know how some IHOPs are big, this is a big one. From across the room, she said, what? And I said, could you come here? And then she came over, and then I said, I wanted to get some more pancakes. And then she looked at me weird. And I said, I ordered the all-you-can-eat pancakes. And then she took the receipt off the table because she had brought the receipt. You know how sometimes they bring a receipt and they lay it on the table while you're still eating. Well, she brought hers extra early so we could get the hell out of there. So, and I still, to this moment, don't know what her problem was. I don't know what her problem was. So anyway, she left, and then maybe like literally 10 or 15 minutes later, I was ready to go. I had finished all my food, and I really didn't want the pancakes. And so she's over there doing something by the dishes, and so my wife called her, and then she said, what? Again, from all the way across the room. And then I said, could you come here? Could you come here? And I said, did you put the order in for the pancakes? And she said, and this is what she said next is what made me lose my top. She said, I'm not the cook. How do I know? And threw her hands up. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. I'm glad there wasn't a lot of people in the restaurant because I'm not even going to the detail. I didn't use any profanity or anything like that. I just let her know that I knew you're not the cook. The cooks don't come out and take orders. The cooks stay in the back and cook the food. And then she said, again, I don't know if the pancakes are ready. I put the order in. I'm not the cook. And she started to walk away. And then I said, oh, miss, come here, come here. I called her back. She stopped again, 10 feet away. What? I said, will you come here? So she came back over. And I said, don't tell me again that you're not the cook. I know you're not the cook. You're the waitress taking the order. I asked you, did you put the order in? And I said, why is it taking this long to cook 2 pancakes? And she said, I don't know. And I said, don't say it again. And then she started to walk away. And then my wife told me to calm down, so I calmed down. And then before she started to walk away, the cook rang the bell. I think they have some kind of bell or buzzer or something. And the pancakes, but she said, oh, they're ready. And I said, and then she went and got them and brought them back. And then I let it go. I let it go. I raised my voice, and after that, I let it go. I said, don't keep escalating it. I'm escalating it now. Now at this point, I'm escalating it. Because her rudeness and trying to be a wise ass telling me that she wasn't the cook, and how could she know, really made me blow my wig. When I was a kid, I mean, around 14 or 15, I worked at IHOP, actually. Worked at IHOP twice during my young life in high school. And one time I was a cook. First time I was a busboy. Next time I was a cook. But that's neither here nor there. But boy, did I lose it. And so, but I stayed calm, didn't use any profanity, didn't do any threats or anything like that. Just wanted to make her know that I was not happy at how nasty she was being. And I had done nothing to her. Nothing. So, you know, I struggled to let it go. I gave my wife the credit card. I said, here, you pay her. I don't want to deal with her again. And I took my grandson outside, and we took a little walk down the street where my wife was paying. And then, you know, it all ended well. And, but I just can't stand. What makes it worse is when you're nice to people, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they give you this blatant disrespect, like you don't matter, or you're getting in their way. Or if I'm a customer, I'm coming in the restaurant. If I don't come in the restaurant and buy the food, you don't make money. I mean, they still make money because it's a national chain, but it's just frustrating. I mean, I understand being at a job where you don't want to be. Here's how it connects. I've done a lot of videos at survival jobs. I don't know. She's an old woman. She's older than me. She looked older than me. She probably was almost my same age. She looked probably about, I don't know. She was older than me. So she was much older than me. And I understand your times are hard. You have to work. Maybe she, whatever went on in her life, and now she's this age. She's supposed to be retired, and she's back working again. I know life is rough. But a lot of people got it worse than her. A lot of people don't have an air-conditioned job like at IHOP to walk around and get tips and, you know, bring people food and take their order. A lot of people have worse jobs than that. But if you don't want the job, get a different one. That's what I tell all people too. That's what I tell actors, a lot of filmmakers, a lot of editors. Sometimes business is slow and you have to work what they call a survival job, especially actors. But if you don't like it, get a different one. Don't take it out on the customers. Don't take it out on the customers. I could see if I was nasty, if I was disrespecting her, if I was, ordering her around. I was being nothing but nice and polite. Even from the first minute when we walked in and she gave me that look from across the room and she didn't move. It was like she didn't want to come over. And I realized that she didn't want to come over, but she was the only one working, so she had to come over and seat us and serve us. But I don't know. I could go on and on and on and on, but I'm not. It's about 10 minutes. I'm going to stop my rant on this. But that woman really got to me. And I'm going to let it go after this. Because I'm just going to let it go after this because that's enough about this. But if you don't like the job you're at, go find another one. Go find a different one. There are plenty of waiters and waitress jobs available. They can't find enough people to work in the food service industry. So if you don't like this spot you're at, go get another one. Don't take it out on the customers. Because you don't know who you're going to offend and how far they'll take it. I have my limits. I'm not going to go over the limits. I got a lot to lose. So I'm not going to go over my limit when somebody offends me, It's just not worth it. I have too much to lose. But she's going to come across a person who doesn't have a lot to lose. And that can be dangerous. All right, I'll see you in the next one.